Hey, what's up, y'all, man? This is ManThePodcast, episode 10. Today we talking about emotionless men or men that don't like to talk about their emotions. Today we have a special guest host, Rachel,
Hello.
and I'm JP the creator. Oh, Rachel is Beyonce. Okay, all right, my bad. And then this is Ben the Awesome News. Okay. So, kind of explain to them what you mean by like emotionless men.
So what I mean by emotionless men is that I work in mental health. So as you know, Rachel, I don't know if you knew that, but I work in mental health. I got a psych degree. So what I mean by emotionless men is that male society nowadays. I have a psych degree with a minor in sociology. So I like to watch people, and I literally watch people all day long. That's literally what my job is: watching people, making sure they're not hurting each other, making sure they're not doing anything, whatever. Well, with men, what I've come to notice is that a lot of them don't show emotion as far as like crying or, like it's a lot of females are known as emotional creatures, so it's societally it's okay. But men, don't you crying, boy? Suck it up. Suck it up. You crying. So you get this product of a bunch of males nowadays that don't know how to show emotion. So it either comes out as anger, which is an emotion, but it's an extreme emotion, or it comes out as extreme isolation, which can be considered depression. It can develop into depression also, and anger is also a part of depression because if you're talking to me, hey, Ben, awesome news, what's up, man? Fuck you, JP. What's wrong with you, man? Like, man, nothing. But I could be, upset about my child. I could be upset about my mom or something, but I don't want to show that emotion. So instead of, man, mom trip, man, instead of crying about it, I just go, I'm ready to fight somebody. So, and what I mean by emotionless men is like, there's an emotion there, but usually the emotion comes out as anger, and under that anger is usually hurt, there's usually sadness, there's something under there. But that's why I mean my emotionless men, because everyone says, suck it up, you don't show no emotion.
So you think it's not the true emotion?
It's not the true emotion. The true emotion can be, and sometimes when somebody acts extremely happy, it could be extremely sad.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, in my opinion, when it comes to emotionless men, I think it has a lot to do with the parents and their experiences. And a lot of things is generational. Like, say there's a young man and his father was very stern, never showed any affection towards him. Like a hug, a pat on the back, or even like positive affirmations like, son, you did a good job, I'm proud of you. And the dad was just always, or the mom, it could be both parents or one parent. So that child grows up thinking like, okay, this is normal. This is the way I'm supposed to be. This is the way I'm supposed to react. Or like, because I've worked in childcare for a very long time, and I've noticed a lot of young boys who are very aggressive. Like, anytime they get upset, like what you were saying, Ben, is they go to the extreme. But when I look at, not all, but their parents, that lets me know a lot about why they behave the way they behave, because they are not allowed to be human in some ways. Like, say, for example, I had one little boy who, if he made a mistake, his dad was so, like, hard in the face. Like, would judge him, and the boy, the pressure. So when he would do something wrong, his emotions were always on the extreme. It was never a healthy expression of emotion.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, do you feel like men are like that in certain environments? Like, let's say, for example, like, okay, like when I played football, it's like about okay, like y'all offensive defensive linemen, you know what I mean? So we have to like be like most physical men out there. So we have to beat another man's ass to be considered good. You know what I mean? 'Cause you have to push this man off the ball. So you know what I mean? So it's just like and then when I was in other environments, like for me, like I felt I'm kinda in the middle.
Well, I think it's how you express your emotions. Is it healthy or unhealthy? Because in my opinion, there's no such thing as emotionless, but there's a thing such as expression of emotion.
Okay.
And there's men who express their emotion in different ways. But there's also men who don't express emotion. It's just straight, like, you don't know what they're thinking. You really, and really, that is scary. That is because I had a little boy who, it didn't matter what the situation was, he always gave like this blank stare.
But you don't feel like okay, like in certain emotions, like in certain environments, excuse me, I kind of feel more comfortable expressing my emotions.
Yes, now I do believe there is an appropriate time or place. Like,
Right.
let me give a couple examples.
Okay.
When people attend religious organizations, it doesn't matter the religion. The emotion is going to be different than attending a football game. You're at a football game, your emotion is probably going to be more extrovert, more outward, but in the physical side may be more like, because you're at a game, soccer, football, basketball, you cheering for your team. Most folks ain't just gonna, like, why pay all this money for a ticket just to be like emotionalist?
Right.
So there is going to be an expression of emotion. You attend a religious community. There's people who express their love for God inwardly, and there's people who express outwardly. So I think the real question is what is healthy and what is not. Now I think what's not healthy is when men don't know how to channel the emotion. Like, say for example, you have a child and you see your child is hurting or sad, and you don't even try to show like compassion, or you don't hug them, you don't try to like reassure them like, hey son or daughter, this is okay, like you're going to get better. And there's kids who suffer they suffer emotional trauma because their own father, say their father never hugged them.
Right.
Their father never said like, son or daughter, you did a good job, I'm proud of you. So when their child is wanting that desire, they have not been guided on how to do it.
See, my dad told me one time, and he was in the military, he was in the Air Force, and he was like senior master sergeant. And so like he told me one time, and I was always like my relationship with my dad was like Simba is a little kid in the Lion King, right? And Mufasa is like the supreme lion.
Yeah, the alpha.
Yeah, and so man, my dad always looked at myself kind of like that, like Simba. Like I'm like, man, like I'm funny and I'm cool. My dad like Mufasa. Like it was like, man, like if you go on a lion, that's what a lion supposed to look like. And Simba was nothing like his dad. You know what I mean? And like it was kind of like with Batman and Robin. Like Batman was like, man, that's a superhero, man. He's like like that's what people. And then Robin has to live up to that. So then it was kind of like like your personality might be real laid back, but then you have to like Simba had to live up to that super lion thing. Mufasa wasn't a regular lion. Mm-hmm. He was like what a lion supposed to be, and Simba was nothing like that. And so in your back of your head, you're like.
But in that movie,
he also became his own person.
Yes, but Mufasa
was
guided Simba. He never expected. I love the Lion King because it has a lot of good morals to it. Right. He wanted to show his son who he was meant to be. He never said you have to be exactly like me, but never forget like the king in you.
But see,
Like I'm trying to mold you
right.
to be, but I feel like when men suffer with emotional issues, it's because they didn't have a parent, rather be mother or father, who's also emotionally stable.
But see,
You need emotional stability
right.
as well to guide someone else on how to be emotionally stable as well.
But see, I think like with something like that, it took me years to realize what you were saying. You know what I mean? And like, I was just always like, I can't live up to that. And I think that's why me and my dad kind of had a conflict we had sometimes.
There's a lot of parents because I work for many, or have worked, or currently work for many different families, and I have had that talk many times because it creates anxiety in children.
Mm.
And the parent, I've had several parents ask me, they go, Miss Rachel, we don't understand why they respect you, like you ask them to do anything, and they do it. But when it comes up, and I had to tell them, I said, stop judging them so hard. They're a child, you're an adult. Now, if you ask me to do it, that's different. You can hold me to that adult standard on an emotional level, a mental, a physical level, but you cannot hold a child to that level. So an example would be so simple. Kids have accidents, like they drop something, break something, spill juice on the floor. Some parents, like, oh my gosh, that creates anxiety in the child when the parent gets angry.
Right.
I mean, so much anger over a glass of milk. This is my reaction. They spill it, go clean it up. You made a mess. There's the paper towels. I'm not cleaning it up. I didn't make it. You go clean it up. You don't even have to tell me. Go clean it up. And they're like, Miss Rachel, you never get mad. I go, for what? Why do I want to get mad over a glass of milk? Why do I want to get mad? Like, why do I want to make you feel this small over a glass of milk?
My daughter is, she's very, I'm glad that she's emotionally stable with me, and being that I'm not necessarily the primary parent, because I remember one time she fell at her third birthday party. I'll never forget this. She fell, and she knew exactly. I was sitting down just like this. I'm sitting, and I watched her, and she fell, and I was like, okay. And she popped up, and she ran straight to me. Most kids won't do that. But she was comfortable enough and stable enough to where I could run to my daddy, and I picked her up, like a parent should. I sat her down. I was like, "You okay?" She said, "Yes." I was like, "You want to go play now?" She said, "Yeah." And she was fine. She just wanted that stability, like, okay,
Yeah,
I know you're here. I know you're here. Pick me up, put me down. Pick me up, put me down. Now, granted, when I was 16, my daughter wasn't born yet. She wasn't born until I was 29. My niece was born. I had no clue how to deal with kids. I didn't know what to do. So one day she was doing something. I kept telling her, stop. You're going to hurt yourself. Stop. And I paused. I told you, stop. Pow! Popped her. Man, I hit her hard. Oh, she thought the world was over. She turned little circles, and she ran straight to me. I told you stop going. Now I would pick her up. I told you stop. The next time you need to stop. But I'm mature now. But at the time I was like, I told you go. So she runs around the house, runs to my mom. I wouldn't pick her up. Runs to my sister wouldn't pick her up. But when she ran back to me, my mom said, pick her up. I picked her up, and she stopped crying immediately.
But see, I think, man, it's who you raised by. Cause like it was just like with the way I was raised, man. It was just like my dad was like the disciplinarian, and so it was kind of like, dang, man. So it was like I remember when I got whipped by my mom, and then the day I got whipped by my dad, it was like, ooh, like this kind of hurt, and so it was kind of like I had to live up to this figure. I didn't know how I was going to do that because I wasn't really geared up like that. And then I had to live up to this figure, and then I was kind of like, I don't know if you want to say scared, but I was kind of like, I was kind of like, man, I was
And I think
yeah.
so some. Oh, go ahead.
So it was like I was kind of like I don't know how I can be like that. And then it was kind of like, not that he was a bad person, he was a good person, And a lot of things that I learned from life, I did learn from my dad, but it was things that my dad died when I was like 23, so I was real young. So I feel like if he was like now, if my dad was alive, I felt like I was like, okay, yeah, I seen that, and I think we would have became friends, like pretty good friends in my 30s. But I didn't know all that. Like when you were saying about Simba, and like he was teaching him how to be his own life. I didn't see that until like
I
today.
think when we're young,
like I was
we
just
don't. When I was younger, I used to think sometimes my mom was kind of like heartless or cold.
Yeah.
But in reality, she really wasn't. When I became an adult and I see how the world is,
Right.
my mom was actually preparing me
For the world.
So I think sometimes there's like a time and a place when it comes to emotions. And how my mom talked to me about emotions, we have to know how to keep them in check. Like, there's nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with feeling sad or feeling emotion, but you can't stay stuck in emotion.
Right.
Or it's not right to, it's not good, I should say, to suppress an emotion. So, like, for example, when my mom passed away, I went through a period of time where my emotions was just all over the place. And then there was a part where I didn't have emotion because I felt like by having an emotion, it caused me pain. So I've seen this in men who have suffered like some type of trauma or heartbreak. They suppress their emotions to avoid the pain or the feeling because they don't want to feel that. So say there was a man that went through a breakup.
Right.
And that breakup really, it broke him up emotionally. So when he meets like a new woman, he is emotionally reserved.
Right.
His emotions, he doesn't make his decisions. And then since women, we're more emotionally creatures, that comes off cold-hearted. When in reality, that man could not even be cold-hearted. It's just maybe some things he experienced that caused him to have this. And the reason I have like a strong opinion on this is because I'm not going to say which brother, but one of my brothers is like that. And as I've gotten older, as we have gotten older, I have learned to like how to deal with my brother because when my mom passed away, it shot him. You know what I mean? Like mentally, emotionally. So he just comes off like an asshole to people.
Right.
When in reality, it's the hurt, like he's hurting, but he doesn't know how to express, I'm hurt. So with time, I had to learn like how to deal with him.
See, with a deaf man,
yeah, no, you can go.
okay, see, with a deaf man, it's kind of like you go through stages. So they would say there's 5 stages of deaf. It's denial. Let me look it up. It's denial. Let me see. But basically, when someone dies, you're kind of in shock that they died.
Yeah, and see, that part I get, but there does come a point where you can't do nothing for a dead person.
Yeah, but
like, why are you going to make the people who are alive, that are around you, that love you, suffer about a situation that it's already been delivered?
okay, but
there's nothing you can. There's nothing physically you can do about it. So like that's where me and my brother would kind of get like in a difference of opinion, and I would tell him we can't change that our mom passed away. Like there's nothing physically I can do. I said I can't go around with this attitude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many years God has given me, but I don't want to spend it in that. Meaning in that. Not to say I don't miss my mom, not to say that I don't cry. It's not to say I do not have emotions or feelings, but I cannot wake up every morning feeling like that. You know?
I feel, man, like, okay, this is 5 stages of grief. It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And, like, I mean, like, 'cause my mom was like, I just thought she was a beautiful person. Like, and it depends on how they pass too, because, like, when my dad passed, it was more, like, he was sick, he had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
When my biological mother passed, Janelle, she was, she'd been written for years. But it was just like, I understood, I understood that it was time for them to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, when my mother passed, it was like, my mother was, cleaning up a house, and then all of a sudden she had a stroke. You know what I mean? Excuse me, she had a heart attack, but she had a stroke before.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she passed, man, it was just like me and her. Cause my mom, she was the type, she would help me. So we ran a business together, and sometimes I was like, well, why don't she go on vacation and she would help me? So then I kind of felt like maybe she was on vacation and doing what people our age would do. Maybe this wouldn't have happened. So that's why that 5 stages of grief.
Then too, you also, this is just my opinion only, or how I've learned to deal with death, is we all gotta, like my grandma, I'm gonna tell you what my grandma told me.
Okay.
And she was honest with me and my brother. She says, because we call them Granny and Papa.
Right.
My grandma would say, well, Granny and Papa, we ain't gonna be here forever. We old. Because my grandparents was already like up there by the time we were little. Right. She was like, I'm an old woman. I've lived my life. I've did everything I felt like I wanted to do. This is the end. I need to be prepared to meet my maker. And my grandma said, when it's time for me to go, it's time for me to go. And she would explain that when an old person dies and when a baby dies, you shouldn't even worry about it, because what grandma said, an old person has lived out their days. A baby never experienced life. She go, in translation, she says, it's you in between that
yeah, whenever grandma's
yeah, she says it's y'all in between. If something happens with y'all and you pass, it's more of a sadness because you live long enough to know what life is,
right? But not to experience.
But yes, so for when my mom passed, that was hard because my mom was only 45 years old.
Right.
My grandparents was already in their 80s. My mom had a child before my older brother, and he passed as like a baby. So I'm not saying one death is greater than the other, but going back to our topic with dealing with men and emotions, I have observed when men have a hard time dealing with emotions is because society teaches that men shouldn't have them. But then when things happen to a man, they don't get the help they need or emotional support. And it's so hard for them to fall into like depressions, anxiety. Because right now, the elderly gentleman that I take care of, that I was with today, I'm more his emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
And I help my little grandpa sort out his emotions. That's why I was telling y'all, hey, I don't know how long I'm going to be, because I cannot predict him day to day. Right. We can have some days, he's like, oh, Miss Rachel, just come and help me for like 4 hours. But if I see grandpa is having a moment, I may need to stay 2 or 3 more hours till I know he's where I need him to be before I walk out the door. And it's not an easy job dealing with a man and his emotions because men are taught by society to not have them. So there is days Grandpa do not want to talk to me, but I've learned sometimes it's not even, we don't always have to talk about it. Does that make sense?
Just be there.
Just be there. I just tell him, look, Grandpa, you can sit here in the living room. I'm going to be in the kitchen. If you need me, I'm right here for you.
I think like when I lost my mom, that was like when I was the most free of expressing my emotion. Because I knew if I didn't, something would happen. So I kind of like, probably been like a week or two ago, or maybe even a month ago, like recently, I probably went to acceptance and I said, she ain't coming back. Because I would always think like, she would walk in the house and be like, boy, why the hell you didn't pick me up from the damn store? I've been gone for 3 years and I got lost. And that sounds stupid. But I really thought that. Like I was
And see, it's nothing wrong. Like honestly, it's nothing wrong with missing your mom. Like even when I'm with Grandpa, and we're talking about like similar topics, and a lot of times what I gauge where he feels like he kind of comes into a downward is when the people around him invalidate his feelings.
Right.
So he no longer wants to express them because they're not respected. So I think with me, because the family's like, man, you're so awesome with Dad. Like, he really loves you, Miss Rachel. Like, y'all, because like we were together the whole day today because he does home projects and I take him to Home Depot. I help him. I assist him. And I tell him, I'm not here to tell you what to do. You are in control.
Right.
I'm here to just be your like support system. So I do feel like when it does come to men, especially young boys, they should have that space to express their emotions in a healthy way. Like the little kids I care for, I'm gonna say the boys specifically. If they cry, it doesn't bother me. I don't get mad at them for crying. I mean, if you fall down and you hit the edge of this table, it causes pain. You're human, you got nerves. But now we can't sit there and cry all day about it. There's a cutoff.
There's a cutoff.
Yes.
All right, cry about it and go on, keep playing that.
Yeah, like, okay, cry, get it out, dust yourself off. Let's figure out how not to run into the table again and move on.
The thing I've learned about myself and kids, for some odd reason, especially babies, I don't understand it. Like, I look like the biggest, meanest person that you've ever seen in your life. Like most kids, and they'll look at me like I'm a jungle gym or something. They're like, "You dig? I'm gonna climb on you." And or you have like the ones that can walk, and they'll walk right up to me, just look at me. I'm looking at them like, "What you want?" Well, what you want? And they're like, "No, you want to pick me up? Go on, pick me up." Like, so I just pick them up, and they just look, and they'll sit there like, I'm like, why are you so comfortable as you sit here? And I think they feel something, like kids feel something that comes from you, because they're all happy and jolly, hey, and the kid like I don't want nothing to do with you. But I walk in, I look like the biggest, meanest person in there, and they're like, I want him. And they'll go straight to me. And it's like...
Well, kids, they can sense. They haven't lost that ability because it's the ways of the world and society that desensitizes people. And children, they're not so desensitized. They still have that feeling.
Babies, too. I can take them from their mom, and I can walk away like they'll be looking at their mom, but at the same time, they're not crying about it. Mm-hmm. They'll look at me like, okay, you okay? Like, they ain't screaming about me going shoes on.
See, the older someone is, the more I feel attached to them. I feel like, I feel like we had built all these years ago. So, like, basically, like, when I had dogs, it was just like, a lot of people like the puppy stage. And I was just like, I liked it when they got older because
I have an older dog.
Yeah.
I like older dogs.
Yeah,
It's
They're
for me.
calmer.
Yeah, it's less to deal with.
But I kind of felt like it was, we had to build this relationship together. So we went through, it's kind of like when somebody grow out the hair.
Yeah.
And then you got that ugly stage where you're like, I want to cut this off. And then you got where, okay, we done accomplished, we got this fro, we can braid it, we can do whatever we want to do with it. And so that's why I always felt like with people and animals and stuff like that, it's like, I like them better when
It's
they
a
got
bond.
Yeah, we done built this bond. And so, like, it's like, I think, like, if I had kids, I would feel, like, closer to them when they became teenagers and, like, young adults and got older because I felt like we done built this bond. So that's why it was so hard, like, for me to lose my mom because it was, like, I done spent, like, at the time, I think it was 36, I done spent, like, I think it was 36, 37. I was 36 and I spent all this time with you. And now it's just gone.
And then too, this is just my opinion only. I have nothing wrong with mama's boys, but there does come a point.
That's me.
There comes a point where you have to emotionally detach just enough. Now I'm not saying cut off. Never cut off. Because if you want to bring, say, like a significant other into your life, you have to make space for that person emotionally just as well. Because you're building a life with that person. And if you're, like me personally, I have nothing against mama boys, but when I see them, I run the other way. Because if I would want a man that respects his mother. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But at the same time, you have to like have a healthy, yes, a healthy. There's a difference. Well, my mom's deceased now, but I love my mom. But I want to be my own person or have my own identity.
So what kind
outside
of
of my
mom?
mom?
What kind of mamas boys you? Because I know that.
Well, there's different types of mamas boys.
Right, so which one
the
you
ones
like?
I can,
Explain it to us.
the ones who feel like they can't do nothing without their mom.
Okay. And
Okay.
then what's another thing?
The ones who have to consult their mom about everything.
Okay.
That's too much. Now I can see, a major decision. But if you're in a now if you're single, that's a little different. But if you're in a relationship with a woman, I don't want all our business going through your mom. Because at that moment, you just need to date your
mom.
Yeah.
And that's
reason. I have no purpose. Does that make sense? If you're still on the titty, your mama's titty, there's no reason for you to be on mine because you indirectly you have already made your decision in who you consult with and who you go, side with. So there does come a point where you have to draw a healthy boundary line, but parents also have to be able to push you to detach, to say, look, like, say I have kids, or even the kids I care for, because I have some clingy ones. They want to just be all up on Miss Rachel, right here. I can't breathe. I can't move. I can't even, go to the bathroom. I have to tell them. And it's my boys. The girls know. They be like, bye. The boys, I have some little boys. I be like, look, Miss Rachel got to go to the potty. I'm going to need you to go over there. I said, look, it's okay. I'm here. I'm not going to leave you. I just got to go to the restroom. And but this is actually funny. The little boys I had when I worked at the last daycare, I would leave to go to the bathroom. They all start crying. And they're like 1.5. What did y'all do with Miss Rachel?
And so when you come back in the room, they're fine.
Then when I come back, and I'm like, but with time, because they grew so attached to me, and so we had a joke. I called them my sons, because when I wasn't there, all hell broke loose. But then again, I would, but it didn't bother for them to sit next to me, read stories to me, because we had that bond. But now when they had to move up to the big boy class and they left my little baby class, I tell them, Miss Rachel's just right over here. Anytime you want to see me, just look over here. And I will come and visit. But I had to tell them, you're a big boy now. You're going to be with Miss, you're going to go on to the next stage. But I'm still here. So I do feel like parents also have a duty, emotional duty, especially with young boys, to help encourage them that independency, emotional independency. And not cut off, not to say, oh no, but you have to have a boundary line. Like, for example, say your mom had that talk with you, JP, like, son, Mom, I'm getting older.
Right.
I'm not playing God. I don't know when I'm going to go.
Right.
But I want you to know when I go, I want you to be strong.
Right.
Now, with me, my mom had that talk. With my brothers, it was different because my mom always felt like my brothers wasn't as strong as me in the inside.
Yeah, but we didn't have that talk.
Yeah, and it's harder when you don't, like, if your mom gave you the reassurance like, JP, you a big boy now. You can do it. It sits better with your soul because mama gave you her blessing or like her approval. So I do believe with young men or older men, don't matter. Sometimes men do need that. I'm proud of you. You're doing a good, like even with the elderly gentleman I help, it doesn't matter what his accomplishment is. I praise him each time. Each time. If he does something, I'm like, man, Grandpa, I see you. God. Like, I encourage him. And I notice with his emotional state, he's not dependent on me, but it builds up his confidence. And I notice when the confidence level goes up in a healthy manner, he feels more reassurance. It's okay to feel sad.
Okay.
It's okay. Like, he's not so like, do you know what I'm talking about? You know how men get like,
yeah, clam.
Yeah, like they just, sometimes he does have days where he is in a
I
shell.
don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and I have to come to him, even though he gets mad at me. I don't care. I said, come on, Grandpa, get up. Let's go. Get out that bed. I'm not going to, push you, but I'm letting you know. And 20, go and have your moment. I let him be human. You got 20 minutes. If I don't hear the shower turning on or, you getting up, moving around, I'm coming back. But you cannot lay in there. Now, if you want to get up, get dressed, we can sit at the breakfast table. And we don't have to talk. We can talk, but you can't lay in the bed all day. So I do believe men should get support and not feel pressure to always just be like, I'm the man. Because that's stressful. And women also have to understand it is okay to let a man be human.
Right.
Like even with my brother, because I have two. My older brother, today he wanted to meet up so we could have lunch. Because, in a way, we're like each other's emotional support. He won't express certain emotions to other people, but with me, I'm his sister, but I can read my brother. And we were talking, and he had, because my brother, you've met my brother, my older brother.
Okay.
I think you met him maybe 1 or 2 times. People meet him, he has that straight, blank, But my brother is like a gentle giant. But I can understand why sometimes my brother don't show emotions because there's people who did him wrong. When he he came out of that typical what a man should be, alpha, patriarchal, and really try to show kindness or love or appreciation. People, screw him over. So now, so now he kind of be like, oh, fuck this shit, like this and that. And I tell him, I have to remind him, guys, it's okay, don't feel like you can't be human. So that's why I think too, the emotional state of a man plays a role in also who are the women in his life. To the men and women in that man's life, like they contribute. Because if say your mom or dad, say let's use the female. Say you're around a woman that criticizes you. Like you hit the door and you hit with criticism. With time, you're going to just shut down. Like you're not going to even want to show because you're going to feel like anytime you open your mouth or you say something, you're criticized.
It's just like with the boys I work with. I used to work in still work in mental health, but I liked working with teenage males. And the reason was because with them, everybody, oh, it's too late with them. I said, no, it's not too late. And at first, I used to kind of like, all right, guys, I need to kind of quiet down a little bit, and they just wouldn't listen. So I had to kind of get this kind of major pain.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, you always yelling. I said, no. I said, I yell to get your attention, then I'll talk to you. And they're like, what? Well, yeah, you right, Mr. B, you right. So a lot of them, in a sense, I was that father figure they needed, but to show them it's okay to have emotion. It's okay to be like, man, Mr. B, why are you talking about that? Whoa, hold on, man, hold on. I said, you want to talk? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, talk to me.
Okay, that's okay.
This my main point is basically like they could see the emotion in my face, and I could see the emotion. I could read them. I could look at them and tell like, what y'all doing? And they're like, nothing. Like you doing something, or someone like, man, what? Help. I look at them, sorry, Mr. Ben, sorry, and or I just happen to look at him. You're a parent to look at you, and I just happen to
That's
look
like
at him.
that chance, like you need to get right. Like you're giving him a chance to correct himself.
It was happening. I just happened to look at him, and it's like, man, I said, when you about to do something, I was like, I didn't say anything to you. It said, well, yes, sir. So fix it. And they're like, okay. And that's it. They expect me to just like go in on them and just like, I guess, emotionally berate them. And I don't. And they're like, oh, so it's okay for you to say something to me. I don't have to get all upset. Because they automatically like that. They want to just.
Yeah, and I think with young people, especially young boys, they're so used to, you get desensitized.
Yeah, and
so I have young men like that, and I kind of talk to them firm. I call it firm but loving.
That's what I
just want you to get my message, but I want you to know at the end of the day, I have your back. I'm here for your benefit. I don't get paid to make your life miserable and my life miserable.
See, I also think it kind of like, how can I say it? But I think it kind of like what type of person you are too, because like, you know, like when they say funny people, they kind of feel like, okay, like with people that are funny, I forgot what the saying was, but they were saying that people are used to them being happy. And then when they don't make people laugh, it's kind of like, well, what's wrong with you? You know, why are you not making me laugh? Why are you trying to tell me about how you feel? So like, okay, let's say, you know, when you date somebody in a relationship and you like the funny dude and you make them laugh and, you know, you're always the life of the party. And then I noticed like, you know, when certain people on a date, they would be like, you know, when I tell them my feelings, they'd be like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I feel this type of way today. And I'm like, well, you kind of tripping because, you know, we want the person that makes us laugh. We want the person that...
And that's what I was saying. It also depends around the people around your life. Like someone who's really like your friend, or if it's your significant other, they are going to realize you are still human.
Right.
Like even with my brothers, even my younger brother, like we, you know, have our difference of opinions on things, but he's still my brother. At the end of the day, that don't change. I still have like an indirect responsibility to care about him. I don't have to agree. I don't have to like. But if my brother calls me and he's like, Rachel, can I talk to you? I would not turn my brother away. Even if I don't like what he's saying, maybe just me listening to him express himself, it could be saving him from doing something bad. Like sometimes it's not even for me to say anything or like judge, or it's just he just wants somebody to be there, and I've tried my best. I mean, it has always been like that with us, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, and then he don't, and then, but as I've gotten older, as I've matured, I've learned maybe he just calling because he just wants somebody to listen. You know, he ain't calling because he want my opinion. If he wants, so now, because I know how my brother is, if he calls me, I just listen.
But you know, when
You know, and then, and you know, of course, I add a few words here and there, this and that. But the goal is, as long as he's talking and we communicating, it's not about who's right and wrong. Sometimes it's just having a dialogue.
But you know, we live in a society where people don't know how to listen. Because you look on Facebook, it's
you
like
hear more than you listen.
yeah, there's a difference.
There's a
Yes.
difference between
So
hearing and
like
listening.
you know, like when I hear the thing I have wrong about Facebook, and we're gonna do probably like a whole podcast on social media. To me, it's a lot of people that want to be heard, but they don't want to listen. So
Yeah.
and that's why I think it's so
That's why I haven't had it.
yeah, and that's why I think that the dangerous part of Facebook is because we want to be seen, but we don't want to listen. We want to be heard, but we don't want to, hear somebody else. And I just think that I see a lot of Facebook pages, and I just hear people that wants to be heard.
And that has a lot to do, just my thoughts from being like working with all types of people. Now, this one thing I have observed in men and women, a lot of those people, I call them, they didn't get hugs as a child.
Right.
Like me, my mom hugged me. I got affection. I had emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically, my needs were met.
Right.
So now that I'm an adult and I'm out in this world, I'm not desperate from certain things in certain areas of life. Like if a man come up to me and be like, "Oh, you're beautiful," thank you. I'm not gonna be rude, but I'm not gonna eat it up. Like I've never heard that. Like my own mama told me that. My grandma. So I take the compliment, but it's not my world. Because you never know what's behind that you're beautiful. So sometimes people, when you have a certain emotional stability, your mind thinks differently.
It could be a loaded gun behind that, or it could be just simple,
A sincere, yeah.
Sincere compliment. A lot of times there'll be memes or something like that I'll comment on or I'll post, and people will go on there and try to go all deep into it. And I say, look, man. And when I actually explain what I'm seeing, you're not listening to what I'm telling you because I'm writing it down. That's why I prefer an old school method, calling people.
Yeah.
But then when you call them, you dial them on the messenger, they don't want to answer. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so I'm sitting here arguing with you back and forth or having a conversation because all you want to see is you want people to show that, oh, see, look, I made him look stupid. Mm-hmm. Or I made him look like this. Like, you made him look anything. You actually made yourself look dumber than just talking to me and saying, look, what do you mean by that? Because if you really cared about what I'm putting up there, you wouldn't go on there. You would either DM me, direct message me,
or just look at it and keep going.
And keep going, because it's my opinion. It's my opinion. You don't have to look at it. Do yourself a favor, block yourself, or take me off of there. But ask me before you decide to make an opinion.
But you see how, like, it's so defensive. So it's kind of like...
So do you
it's
think
not
possibly...
It's just
it's just like... If they
the nature of our society
But then,
It affects people emotionally.
okay, well, let me say that. I feel like this. We don't allow people to express how they feel if it don't relate to how we want them to feel.
No,
That's true.
So
that's
what
very.
I'm saying.
Okay, I had a fallout with a friend of mine.
Okay, let me.
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, like when it was probably the most emotional I ever been was when my mother passed. And man, like I would get so emotional, man. Like I would listen to songs and I would stop my car. I was that emotional. It was crazy. And so that was for a couple of years. And I used to cry when people would say good things about my mom. And if somebody would say negative things about her, I was just like, nah, it wouldn't bother me because I'm like, that's not my mom. So when people say nice things, like I had a guy, he came up to me in a restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant we used to eat a lot. And he came up to me, he said, you know, your mom, you know, she would always talk about how she was proud of you and how y'all would work together. And I said, you know, and I told him, I said, man, you know, sir, I kind of feel like that would, she'd been doing something else. You know, like she'd been enjoying her life. She said, it wasn't no other place she would rather be. Because helping you, because she knew how to say no. And if she wanted not to do it, she would have walked off. You know how your mom is. And that made me feel good, you know what I mean? And it made me tear up because I was just like, man, like, she enjoyed it.
See, that's a healthy emotion, JP. Yeah. Like, by that man expressing, you know, like, his heartfelt opinions or thoughts of your mom, you were able to release a healthy emotion.
Right.
So emotions themselves they're not bad or good. It's just the way they're expressed determines negative or positive.
Well, that's kind of the reason I actually got into combat sports is because there's sometimes some, and I'm maybe I don't feel this way, but I feel like there's a lot of people out there that say if you need me, call me, but they don't mean it.
No, it's like that whole I'm gonna pray for you thing.
I'm gonna pray for you, and I'm like, you need me, call me, I'll be there. But when you call them, they don't answer. You text them, they don't answer. And then when you go do something, why did they call me? They could have texted me, could have let me know something. But society's they're so busy nowadays on their phone, or they're putting something up, which I understand people are busy. But if, for instance, Jarnell texts me, he's like, hey man, I really need your help right now. If I'm in the middle of something, I see it, because most of the time I'm at work, I have my phone in my pocket because we ain't supposed to have my phone on the floor. But if I look at it, hey, y'all hold on a minute, I'll step off. Hey, what's going on, man? You good? Oh yeah, man, I was having a moment. Like, we cool? I'll talk to you. But I just feel like there's not that realness out there anymore.
But see, you gotta understand this, man, too. Is that people, what I learned from that is people do have lives.
I understand that,
so,
but don't put an offer out there you're not gonna follow through.
This is true too. I noticed that when my mother passed away, it's like different stages that people would come in. You got people that would be there when it first happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You got people that would be there at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then you have people that would be there after the funeral.
Okay.
And so, like, for example, like I had my friend, I had my friend, like my friend Corey, man, like he was there, when my mom was at the hospital, you know what I mean, and he was pallbearer when my mom's funeral, and so we talked afterwards. So that's somebody that was there for the whole thing. You have people that they went, my friend Daniel was like that, and his wife, Amber. Can't think of their name now, but I had like Jerome and can't think of their name. But Jerome and his wife was there, can't think of their name. But they was there, But a lot of times, man, you gotta understand that these people have lives too. And so it's like like with somebody like my friend BJ, it was like he wanted to be there, but he can't. He got kids, so it was just like he had to go all the way. He was in Oklahoma at the time, so he had to drive all the way from Oklahoma. That might not work, but a lot of times I would call him after it happened, and we would talk about it.
That's what I'm saying. A simple phone call sometimes, even if it's like you call me back late at night, at least give me that call. I'm not saying that you have to stop your entire life.
Right.
No.
But there are times where there are certain people that I will call, like I'll call and I don't get an answer, I don't get mad. I'm just like, okay, whatever.
There's convenience people. That's what I call them. They only do
They only
things
call you
to their
when-
convenience. If it's not, and I, you know what? I've called people out on that. I just tell them, look, if you're really that busy, that's okay. But there's no need to tell me this and tell me that. Just tell me the truth. And sometimes we do have to take that responsibility to redirect people in our lives. Does that make sense? Like, I know who's there for me and who's not. And the ones who are like for show, I tell them. I said, don't even go there. Like, don't, what do you call it? Tell the truth, shame the devil. If you're not really going to be that backbone, and it doesn't matter the reason, just like, let's save that. But if you are going to be there, be there. If you're not,
but see,
it's no need to front.
I learned basically that I kind of said.
That's how you know shutting
I've been accused of what y'all saying. Because I've been accused of not being there for a friend because I work, and at the time he called me, he would always call me at the wrong time. So he wanted to talk, and then I would be busy, and so it was always like where he attacked me for working and being busy and not being able to be there for him at that time. And so we kind of ended up not being friends anymore.
That's happened to me.
But see, that's what I'm saying, that
it is better to be honest. Like, I had a friend. Oh, go ahead.
But see, with people like that, with me, it's like, well, I have to work. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't care. But see, a lot of times, like, I work 6 days a week. And, like, my mom would tell me that I don't mind a double workshop. So that's why I always, like, work. She had that T-shirt. And that T-shirt, when she had that T-shirt, man, I wish I could find it. But when she had that T-shirt, that was always in my mind. Like, I don't mind the double workshop. So I would always find something to do. So, like right now, I'm going to school, I do real estate, I do this podcast, I coach football. Because my mom was just saying basically, I don't mind that workshop. So I noticed that I'm always doing stuff. I have friends like that. And so when you attack somebody always working like that, I wanted to be there for this friend. But it was just like he started attacking me, like my religion and who I was, because I wasn't there when he wanted me to be there. And I think that's selfish too.
Yes, I've dealt with that too since I've been going to school, and school takes a lot of my time, but I'm paying for it. I'm not asking for people's money, and they get upset when I'm not where they want me to be, when they want me to be. And so I've had to have those direct conversations and say, look, I'm in school. I got a lot going on.
I look at it this way. Everybody's in your life for a reason and a season.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes sometimes it may be a long season, maybe a lifelong season, or it may be a short-term thing. So, and I always tell people, I hate to be like this, but sometimes I say, oh, look, I'm a one-man train. I said, so either you're on or you're off. It's like, if you get off, don't expect me to turn around and come back and get you. I was like, it keeps going straight. Now, if you happen to be at the next stop,
yes,
in my life ahead of time, then sure. And most of them aren't.
And I've observed a lot of those people who get like uptight like that, they don't know how to like
It's
say
me. It's always about them. It's their own.
yes, and I like I've had that experience, that same experience where I accused, and I had to tell them, look, you can call me, text me anytime, and I tell them, due to the nature of my job, I cannot sit and hold a conversation with you on the phone because I'm taking care of other people's kids. Now, I can tell you when I'm available, and you are welcome to call at that time, but if you call, I'm not going to answer. I said, if it's an emergency, you need to call EMS. Like one group friend got mad at me. I said, look, I'm at somebody's house taking care of somebody's baby. What can I really do? Tell me. What can I do? I said, now you can text me and say, hey girl, like check in. And when I get off, I said, now when I get off work, it's late. I get off like, sometimes I work till like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Like I'm gone all day. I said, but I can hit you, check in with you, text message, when I get a break. But then when I'm off from work, due to the nature, and that's what I had to explain, due to the nature of my job, when it is my off time, I have to take it. Does that make sense? I get paid to give my mental, my emotional, my physical, because you work in mental health. I got my little grandpa, he's work. I got a lot of the kids I do care for have special needs, so I have to do double. When I get off work, I can't sit on the phone for 2 hours about a situation that you really ain't doing much about. That is taken away from my mental, so I've had times where I've had to tell people, but I'm not heartless. I say, look, I'm off. I have more free time on the weekend. If you really need to talk, let's schedule time. Let's. I can meet you halfway. I'm not gonna just straight. But if they don't want to do that, then that's
Well, to close it out, man. Sometimes what I really think when it comes to that, one of the coolest things I ever had somebody do was I had met Mick Foley before, and it was my friend Rocky, and I was cool with the guy. I don't know if y'all know LAX, but I really met Sean, and he called him Supermax, and I met Homicide, like I really met him through my friend Rocky, and so they was cool dudes, man. And so Sean and Nana's actually on my Facebook. And so they was like, he called me Show. He said, hey, Show, man, you want to meet Mick Foley? And I was kind of intimidated with Mick Foley. Mick Foley did some crazy stuff, right? So I met Mick Foley, and I took a picture with him and everything. It was cool. So my friend from church, Will, was like, we were just talking about wrestling. And he was just like, I told him I met Mick Foley. And, Mick Foley was like one of my favorite wrestlers, but he wasn't my favorite wrestler. And so I respected Mick Foley because, he's like this dude. It's not so much he come off of that crazy athlete, but he gives you everything he got. So I respected that because I feel like I was that type of football player. So basically, man, so what Will does, he goes cameo. And he kind of tells my story to Mick Foley. So for my birthday, he actually created this thing where he tells Mick Foley about the experience that I had with meeting him. And so Mick Foley do this cameo. I don't know how to link it, but it's cool, man. And I played that thing so many times. Because what made that so special to me is he heard it. People that gave me something, like a shirt or something on my birthday, it would have been special, but it wouldn't have been like, that's creative.
Yeah.
And so it was cool that Mick Foley, Mick Foley means a lot of people, man. You know what I mean? So he's a wrestler and then he's like a bestseller. So he meets a lot of people. But it was just like, it was so real because Mick Foley was like, I don't remember exactly where I met you. And that was real. You know what I mean? And it did a lot because it wasn't like, I love Flair. I love The Rock. You know what I mean? I wouldn't expect nobody to be $600 or $700 for my birthday, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it was just like, and Mick Foley wasn't nowhere near that price. I think Mick Foley like $80, $60. But it meant a lot because I met Mick Foley, and I really thought he was a cool dude. And it was just like, let me play it, man.
But I wanted to interject, going back to the topic. Do you think by having certain male bonds that helps men deal with their emotions? Like, say you may not want to talk about certain subjects with, like, say, your mom or females.
Right.
But say you have, like, your football team.
Right.
They're in a way, they're your support system. So, like, say you have a rough day.
Right.
It has nothing to do with football, but, you got your boys. Y'all can sit and talk. And, like, for my brother, my older brother, I'm glad he got some new guy friends in his life.
Right.
And I've been wanting that for my brother, because there are certain topics, me as a woman, I cannot relate to a man. But I feel another man could relate, and that has helped those relationships with his new, like, positive male friends has really nurtured my brother in his, like, emotional side.
I feel like, I kind of feel like certain friends help out in certain ways. So, like, I got a friend named Jason, and he had experience, like, a death of a parent, but we go out to, I went out to a lot of games with him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Then I had another friend named Juan. He knows I'm feeling. And so I can talk to Juan about the death of a parent. Jason don't understand that. But the thing I like about Jason is that I got out. So I got to go to UTSA games. I got to go to the Big 12 championship.
But do you think those bonds help you emotionally? Rather,
they help me.
Does that make sense? Like, you have a friend.
They help me in different ways.
Yes, you have a friend who can express about your mom. You have a friend that you can go and do things with? Okay, when you put it together, it balances.
Yeah, so it's like my friend Juan, I can tell him about that. I can't really tell Jason about that. So, but what I did respect about Jason was that he thought about me, and that we went to so many different games, and I didn't, because he was a veteran and he was the first respondent. So I respected that he thought about me. You know what I mean? And that I got to go to a lot of games because of that.
So in a way, both of your friends served as emotional support in your situation.
Right.
Even though one could not directly relate, but he was like, you know what, he's my boy, he's going through. I want to get him out.
Right.
I want to keep him engaged with life.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
So I do feel like with men and their emotions, it's also good for men to be around other healthy, emotional men. And I mean, we all have moments. Like, that's why I support my brothers having good, strong male role models. Rather it be an older man, a man their age. They need that. Like, I call it like a brotherhood.
Right.
They need that. So there's topics I can't really give. So my brother has his friends, and he needs to have that guy moment. They're there. But you know what? I support that. I'm not selfish. I don't feel like, but at the same time, there's some topics my brother can't go to his guy friends about. He wants to talk to a female. He has me as his sister. And the same thing with my brother. There's things with my female friends or women in my life I can't talk about. I'd rather talk to my brother about.
I feel that.
So I do feel like men and women need that. It's like a balance.
Right. And that's I do have that. You know, and then I just want to give a shout out to all these people because they help me out. Like my friend Fisher, I can't think of people's name right now, but my friend Fisher and his wife, I think Cindy, like, man, I would go to their house for holidays all the time. You know, they would just invite me. We would go play Uno, And then my friend Reaper was over there, and we would go play Uno, and we all like knew how it was to lose somebody in the family. So we would kind of sometimes talk about that, but we would always have a good time. So it was always like family related stuff like Uno and having dinner. And that helped us because we lost that somewhere. So when I went over there, I regained it. I just wanted to throw a shout out to all the people because they mean a lot in my life, but they help me in different ways.
No, I agree. I have the same thing.
Yeah.
I have friends that I go visit because they know my situation in life when I lost my mom. So a lot of the times we don't really spend a lot of time on that subject, like per se, but the relationship, like, we watch movies, play games, we make jokes. It gets my mind.
It helps create that thing that you lost, right? Yeah,
so it's an emotional support for me.
Right.
To get through, because every day is not going to be, we're like, yay, like there's maybe some days you're like, man, I'm really feeling low.
Right.
But you can call Rico, you can call Fisher, you can be like, say, man, and while y'all playing that Uno game,
right,
and you may talk about, man, I really miss mom today,
right.
And y'all, but you're like your mom said, an idle. My grandma used to say the same thing: an idle mind is a devil workshop.
Right.
But by you having, as a man, having that support system, your mind is not idle. Y'all playing the game, whatever the activity. So it's not just a pity party.
So what are your, we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah.
What are your closing statements, I guess, on the topic?
My closing statements are: get out there and find somebody that you can talk to. Don't hold it in. Don't be that person that's idle. Like you said, the idle mind, the devil's workshop. Don't be that idle person. If it's a activity you do, if it's just somebody you talk to at work, that's how I found my peace, was by going through my girlfriend at the time. She told me, she said, you need to find something to do. You need to find something to get your mind off of. Because just going to school and just going to work, your mind's idle, your mind's busy, but you're not really doing something that you want to do all the time. It's always busy on something that you kind of have to do, like work. You don't have to go, but you might not have a place if you don't go to work. So she said you need to find something, an outlet. So find an outlet, find somebody that you talk to, or just, and they have to be able to listen, not just talk, but listen to you, not try to give you advice. Just I need you to listen. And that's really all I got to say about it. Just find somebody that they can listen to you and be able to be that listening person too. Because sometimes they don't want you to talk, just listen.
I just want to say, man, thank you to everybody that helped me out in that situation. The lady that I was talking about, her name was Sharon. She was there for me when her and her husband Jerome, I forgot her name, I had a brain for it. Kareen helped me out a lot, we helped each other out when she lost her father and I lost my mother. My name, probably everybody else that helped me out. But the main thing I want to say, man, is that you have to be open-minded enough and receive what God sends your way, the people God sends your way. And they don't help. Another person I used to talk to was Rich Gardner. Because we would meet up for lunch. He used to play for the Eagles. And we used to meet up for lunch and talk about, man-related stuff to the Bible. So there was a lot of people that helped me out. And I just kind of want to all shout out to them. And Tony from church used to pray for me. And I appreciate all of them because they helped me in different ways. And so you got to be just open and just accept what God has for you and accept it the way you can receive it.
My closing remarks is seek help and also try to find a healthy balance when it comes to your emotions, especially with young men, since society teaches men they shouldn't have emotion or they should not openly express emotion. I would encourage all men to learn to be comfortable and know healthy boundary limits when it comes to emotion, and find a support system, rather it be with your family, your religious community, your friends, your school, whatever. You need a village, you need a tribe.
Right.
And whatever you choose your tribe to be, stick with it and maintain it, and being consistent, and being aware, and not to have a like shame or embarrassment, because we're all human, we all suffer, we all experience human emotion. So I would encourage all men and women to put their mental health at a high priority. And that's it.
Oh yeah, this is Yeah Man Podcast episode 10.
10.
Yeah, so next week we hope to bring
It's a decade point.
yeah, it's our decade
Our decade episode.
Well, next week episode 11 we're trying to bring in Dwayne, and Dwayne is a local filmmaker, and he does a lot of powerful things, I guess, socially related to what's going on in society now. And I met him through real estate, and he had wanted to do real estate, and he was in a group called Texas Bound. So then he, so I guess the stages of people's life, and then he got into filming. So hopefully we can have him on a podcast next week, if time permits. So that's basically it, and thank you for joining. And if y'all would like to say any closing thing, this has been the Awesome News. And this is Rachel,
AKA
Beyonce.
Yes.
And we got Mr. Semi, the pro, five-time All-Star. Put that man on the Hall of Fame ballot. Put some respect on that man's name.
Yeah.
It's Yeah Man the Podcast, and
That's
It's a wrap.
we'll see you later.